I'm here today to do my 2018 wrap up. I'm going to do like last time, I think I did this last time, and talk about some magazine articles and movies, and I'm going to throw in a couple podcasts and a TV show at the end. I will start with the books though, so if you're not interested in that other content, you can stop watching whenever you feel like. I had a really good start to the month, but then it became the holidays, and my mom got here on the 17th, so I'm going to say I finished every single one of these books. I finished every single one of these books basically before my mom got here, except for the last one. Baby! Oh my gosh. Okay. So the first thing that I finished in the month of December was Black No More by George S. Schuler. And this I received in my Noir Reads box. I'm not sure from which month, but yes, I got it in my Noir Reads box. I thought this was absolutely hilarious. I think this was written in the 20s, maybe in the 30s. So there is like, the language isn't 100% politically correct, whatever. But basically, the premise of the story is that there is a machine that has been invented by a doctor that can turn, oh my gosh, baby, ay, excuse me, that can turn Black people into Caucasian people. And I say Caucasian specifically and not white because it doesn't change just their skin color. It makes them have like Caucasian features even, so you can't tell if a person was born white or Black, basically. And it's so interesting. Our main character is Max Disher, and he changes his name to Matt Fisher after he turns into a white man. And I can't talk right now. Sorry, Shirley is really on my last nerve right now. He becomes a white man, and after becoming a white man, he joins like this like white racist type group that's really upset because now that the Black people are turning into white people, you can't tell who's a Black person and who's a white person, and that's, important for their ability to oppress is, I guess, what the words that I'm looking for. And yeah, it's really funny. The ending in particular is just absolutely superb. But yeah, it's just kind of like a weird satirical time where basically all Black people have turned into white people, and the politics and stuff that happen because of that, and like how it kind of but people get upset about it. I just can't talk right now. Okay, so the next thing that I read is Saga Volume 9. This was extremely rough. I can't really talk about this at all. All I want to say is that for some reason I did not cry at the end, which I think is very odd. I think I spoiled myself a little bit. I think I like saw ahead or something. I don't know. I guess it's not possible. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't cry, which is really weird. I think there's something wrong with me because that should have made me cry. But yeah, if you... She is... driving me crazy. All right, the next thing that I finished is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This started as a buddy read. I don't know if any of my buddies finished it. We kind of stopped talking about it. I'm not great at buddy reading things, I'll be real with you. Oh my gosh, my face is just running so much. I have to address this. I absolutely loved this book. This is like, I want to say an American classic, and it really, if it's not already, it should be. We're following Francie and Neely Nolan, and their mom, Katie Nolan, and then their dad, don't remember, John, I think it's John. So basically just following their whole kind of family, but predominantly this is a coming-of-age story from Francie's, point of view perspective. I mean, it's third person, but, it's following Francie predominantly. And it's just so beautiful. It's so, it's really, it's really beautiful. She lived, you know, they're very, very poor. Their father is an alcoholic, um, you know, who doesn't really like work a lot or can't get a lot of work. So the mom has to do a lot of work, like cleaning houses. And it's just like so beautiful how much like love and joy is in their family, regardless of like the circumstances. The relationships between everyone are very complicated. Like the mom, you know, doesn't love Francie per se as much as she loves not like Francie and her father have a strong connection, and Nolan, or not Nolan, Neely and the mom have a stronger connection, and so Francie has like a kind of a fraught relationship with her mother, and so there's a lot of like complexity to this, but in general it's just like a really, really heartwarming, beautiful story of like this not well-to-do family trying to like get by and grow, especially Francie, because she wants to be a writer, and it's really it's so heartbreaking because there's like a portion where she's kind of going to the school that she's not supposed to, and they're like giving a fake address so that she can go to this better school, or the school that she wants to go to, and she's writing these like English papers or essays, and she starts writing kind of like very sad. I think it's after some stuff happens. I almost spoiled some stuff. And she's right that her writing turns like quite dark, I guess, and the teacher starts giving her poor marks, and it just kind of reminds me of like on BookTube. So if someone like trashes your favorite book, you give them a thumbs down because that's a rational thing to do, and it's kind of the same thing, that the teacher is marking her down, not necessarily because the quality has decreased, but just because the subject matter is something the teacher doesn't think that she should be writing about, which I think is really interesting and probably not relevant to me talking about the book, but just wanted to mention it. The next thing that I read was The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom, and this I read with Jake's mom. This is a buddy read. This is my dad gave me this book while he was alive many years ago, and I never read it because, I don't know, it has a big swastika on the front, and I know it's a memoir about World War II, so I just kept putting it off. But basically, we're following the story of Corrie. It's a memoir, so basically we're following the story of Corrie is recounting her life, kind of a little bit growing up, and then during World War II. So I thought this was quite good. I think I gave this 3 stars. I have like mixed feelings about this book. I think the beginning of the book I really enjoyed a lot more than the ending of the book, or like the second half, or maybe I want to say like even last third of the book, because it's a lot about like her family and her family relationships. It's her father, and then she's got a sister who's sick named Betsy or Betty. I don't remember exactly, but I think Betsy maybe. And you know, then another sister and another brother, and so it's like their dad is a watch seller, watch fixer in Harlem, which is where my dad's friend Paula lives. So I've been there. So I'm gonna try to go to the house if I can next time that I go to Harlem. And so that I thought that was really wonderful and nice. And then it kind of goes into, you know, German occupation and her hiding Jews in their house, and they've got a hiding place in the house. I did think that was kind of like, I want to say, rushed a little bit in the story. Like that is probably the smallest bit of the book, is her actual part in the resistance, and then it goes into when she is she's arrested, and then her and her whole family are put in the concentration camp, but only her sister and her are like really in the concentration camp. The other people get kind of released and stuff, and you know, thankfully she is able to stay with her sister while they're in the concentration camp, and then, you know, the rest of the book is basically that portion. I didn't really like that bit that much. I don't know. This book is extremely religious. I am not a very religious person, and there's a lot of bits where they're like thanking God for something that I just am like, I don't really know if, you know, I mean, I think that's just a coincidence, kind of like there's like fleas or ticks or something, and it's also quite frustrating because I feel like Corey kind of idolizes her sister. Like she thinks of her sister as like this perfect Christian, I guess, and like this perfect woman who is like constantly, you know, uh I don't want to I think giving is the right word. Like she is constantly like on the moral high ground, I guess, and Corey thinks of herself as like not being quite there yet. This cat is, I know, driving me crazy. And so like for instance, sorry, I'm gonna get back to the flea bit in a second, I promise. There's a part where her sister, because her sister is quite weak and she's being beaten, and Corey is like about to like go after the person who is beating her, and you know she's like, no, no, like it's okay, but it's just like, you know, I don't really think that's fair because if Corey was the one being beaten up, would Betsy just stand by and let it happen? I don't think so. I feel like we have a tendency to stand up for those that we love more than we have a tendency to stand up for ourselves. And so I just don't think that's like a fair example. And then she's also like thanking the fact that there are fleas, like, you know, thanking every single thing. And then they're able to do like this Bible reading and this Bible study in their barracks or their bunks or whatever you'd call it, I don't know. And it's because the guards aren't going in, and she's like, "Oh, that's so strange. The guards aren't going in." And it's because there are fleas or ticks or whatever. And so, but it's like, okay, I don't really think that like that's God sending the bugs to you. Like that's just like y'all are dirty. They won't let you shower, so of course bugs are going to be there, and then they don't I don't know. It just like it was a bit too much for me. Like it was too much, and I don't know. It was like a good story in general. I don't want to like come off as saying it's not, but I just feel like the religiosity of it really kind of turned me off a little bit, especially towards the end. And I do think that Corey, I don't know, like I think that she's just a regular person, and like I think that she was like being too kind of harsh on herself, and like I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this book. I'm not mad that I read it, though. And the next thing that I read was Sex and Rage by Eve Babbitt. This I thought was so lovely. I've never read Eve Babbitt before. I got this book at Wordstock. Oh my gosh. I promise I'm not sick. I got this at Wordstock. And this was very dreamy. It's just like a young girl in like, I think she lives in Santa Monica, kind of. She's like a surfer girl. Moving between LA and New York, and she kind of like becomes friends with all these like wealthy, it's like the like hip wealthy people that don't work, you know, kind of vibe. And then she starts writing, and then they get kind of like, I don't want to say upset, but they kind of like exclude her from their group because they're worried that she's going to start writing stories about them. And the most impressive thing about this for me was like the atmosphere and the writing. I felt kind of like when I watched White Oleander and the Virgin Suicides, like something like dreamy and beautiful, and I don't know. It's just like it was so easy to read. I think this is just absolutely wonderful. I definitely want to read more of Eve Babbitt, but it kind of puts you in that like classic, you know, like surfer girl vibe. I can't talk. Plus, I've been talking way too much, so I would recommend. I thought that was quite nice. And last thing that I read, I got for Christmas, and this is the only thing that I read after my mom came, and that is Chicken with Plums by Marjane Satrapi. And this like packed more of a punch than I was expecting when I started it, because it starts off very, I don't want to say plainly, but it just starts off with a man meeting a woman in the street and like saying her name, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember you." And he, his tar, is that what it's called? His musical instrument, tar, yes. His tar was broken by his wife in a fit of rage, and so he tries to find a new one, but no tar can replace the one that he lost. But that's not really what the problem is, but that's what he thinks the problem is. And then he decides that he is going to die now because he can't find one. And so it's just, he does die. And so each day, let me see if I can, and then it just goes through the first day and the second day, like all the days leading up to his death from the moment that he can't find another tar. And then the ending is extremely moving and made me cry a lot. I thought this was really great. It's super short. If you like Marjane Satrapi, obviously you should read this. But if you like any kind of graphic novel memoir type situation, oh, there are boobs in here. I just saw some boobs, so be warned, there are boobs. So those are all of the books that I read in the month of December. I am going to actually have to edit this because this is way too long. So I'm just going to go through kind of quickly the magazines. I only finished 2 copies of The New Yorker last month. I haven't read any this month. So this is from December 3rd, and this is kind of just like a, what is it called? This one was a archival issue, so it was different articles and cartoons from like years previous. I will say I thought this was really great. They showed like different covers, and then, you know, the date that the covers came out. And my favorite piece was a story by John Updike called Snowing in Greenwich Village. And oh my gosh, my face. And it was just, you know, a relationship type story, which are my favorites. I think it's a married couple, and there's a girl that's visiting them, and then they just kind of are chatting and stuff. So nothing really like happens, but it was really interesting. And then the other one that I read was the October 29th issue, and this I thought was really great. This is Act of Conviction. Philadelphia's new district attorney seeks to end mass incarceration by Jennifer Gonnerman. He used to be a public defender, and was a defense attorney for 3 decades. And I just think that's like such a great idea to have a defender become a DA, because they're not gonna like go after people just to go after people. That was really, really good. And then I did mention this one already in a weekly update video, I think, but this is Wah by Brian Washington, and this was stunning. Mostly we're following Poke, and he lives with a bunch of young guys, and they kind of, I think they just do like sex work, so they get paid to have sex with men, and then things happen, and it's so good. Really, really heartbreaking. I really, really like this a lot. So I just want to mention, I just can't with my face right now. Okay, I'm just going to mention really fast the movies that I watched. I watched The Favorite. So good. I don't remember what the name of the actresses that plays the actual queen, but all 3 of those actresses were phenomenal. The movie made me extremely uncomfortable. There was funny bits, like I really laughed out loud, but then also I felt like, kind of like I felt when I read Giovanni's Room, just like so sad, like nothing, like just, it was really an emotional roller coaster. I would really recommend it if you haven't watched already. I rewatched Love Actually and Death Proof, and loved them both still. And then at the very end of the month, I watched Striptease with Demi Moore with Jake. Okay, Striptease. I thought it was hilarious. I listened to the How Did This Get Made? I listened to the podcast How Did This Get Made? And that is why I watched the movie Striptease, because they do like, they pick a movie and they watch it and they talk about the movie, and it's usually bad movies. And I thought Striptease was hilarious. There are some very, very weird moments in it. But June Diane Raphael basically like ripped it a new one, because it like basically just talked down stripping and like sex work. I mean, there's no sex work in the movie, but there's a lot of like talking bad about sex work in the movie that I just like did not pick up on at all. I don't know how to say this. I am so bad at this. She was mentioning how they were basically like idolizing only, like Demi Moore was like this like wonderful creature, like this innocent, perfect person, and all the other strippers basically were trash because they like wanted to be strippers and they were strippers, and she was only doing it because she had to, and like the second she was able to, she wasn't going to do it anymore. And how, so, you know, they were basically like talking down on sex workers, and you know, that is like a legit thing as long as, you know, it's the person is doing it of their own free will and they're not like being forced to it, which is a whole nother discussion that I don't want to have right now. But I did think that her point was extremely interesting because yeah, they did that. All of those things were totally true. So I will link the How This Get Made episode about that. And on that note, I'm just going to also link below. What is the name of that podcast that I just finished listening to? Sold in America, which is about sex trafficking in the US. I might have already mentioned it in a previous podcast, but that was extremely, extremely interesting. In another podcast, I might have mentioned it in another video. I literally need to stop filming. I'm just going to mention 2 podcasts really fast, and then I'm going to stop this, I promise. The first one is Proof by America's Test Kitchen, and in Proof, they kind of like go over the history of a certain food product. They did one on like bowls, because, you know, everyone loves a good bowl now. And they did one on like the multi-flavored jelly beans, like the like vomit flavored and sock flavored and all that kind of stuff, and like how do they get that flavor. So that is really good. And then also there's Conan OBrien has a podcast now called Conan OBrien Needs a Friend, and I think that is super, super funny. I will say I think it kind of depends on maybe like who the guest is, because Bill Burr was on it and I did not really like that one. Bill Burr, I don't really know who he is. I mean, like listening to his voice, I like recognized him a little bit. And I think when I Googled him, his face seems familiar, but I don't know like what I know him from. But that episode, I would say pass on. He's one of those guys that's kind of like defensive about, like he doesn't say like politically correct things, which is fine, but then he gets like really defensive about it, and I don't know, it just was not a good look. Or not a good sound, I should say. But, you know, Will Ferrell was on it, Kristen Bell, Dak Shepard, Nick Offerman, and Megan Mullally, this one that I just listened to, Wanda Sykes. So, yeah, I think that is super, super funny. I am going to go now. This video was a disaster. I apologize. I haven't talked about books in a while, so I'm going to blame it on that, and I'm going to actually have to edit this video, so oh well. Hope everyone had a great December. I'll see you guys later.